All right. Thank you for joining us for our webinar. I'm with Mason Philpott. I'm the Director of Recruitment with American Canadian School of Medicine. Our webinar tonight is Transitioning and Adapting to Island Life, what students can expect at ACSOM. We're hoping to have some folks join us. So I know we're also streaming live on Instagram and YouTube as well. But we'll give some folks some additional time to go ahead and join our broadcast, and we'll get started in the next few minutes. All right. Well, while we're waiting on some other folks to join, I want to go ahead and introduce our guests that we have here. We have Amanda Massacott, who is our student advising manager. She's in Dominica. So she's actually from Dominica, so she has a lot of insight. She deals with students as they look to transition, onto the island. And also, I have with us Fatima Muhammad Ali. Fatima will now be transitioning into her third year with ACSOM. She completed a full 2 years at ACSOM. She's now getting ready to take USMLE Step 1, within next month. So she's super busy. Thank you, Fatima, for carving out this time to join us. I really appreciate that. Fatima was actually part of our charter class. So, as most of you probably already know, we are a newer school. So Fatima was part of that initial class. I remember, seems like not that long ago, Fatima, having a phone conversation with you as you were looking to start medical school. Time just kind of flies, and then before you know it, you're halfway through with medical school, which is just, it's an amazing feat. I always tell students, the most challenging thing you can do academically is to pursue an MD. So, we're very proud of what you've been able to achieve so far, and we're looking forward to continuing to hear great news about what it is that you're able to achieve. We'll go into detail on what it was like for you as you came to Dominica, and how ACSOM kind of became your home, and now you're in this transition point where you'll be taking your USMLE soon and starting clinicals in the US. So super exciting. And while we're kind of going through our presentation, for those of you, if you could just kind of fill in where it is that you're logging in from, so we get an idea. I know we have people all over the world who are interested in ACSOM, and so we'd love to hear where y'all are logging in from. And I do want to go over kind of what's going to be in the agenda. So I'm going to give you a little overview of what ACSOM is, who we are, what makes us special, and then we'll kind of go into detail. What does it look like being a student while you're at ACSOM? And obviously, Fatima is an expert on that because she has had to live it for the past 2 years, right? So definitely she has that insight. We're going to talk about housing. I know we get a lot of questions about that. Amanda, who's part of our student sports services team, she'll have an opportunity to go in depth on what that looks like. It's a very special group that we have at ACSOM to really make sure our students have the proper support, and as they transition from just starting in medical school to really learning the ropes and going day in and day out through medical school, making sure there is the proper level of support that's there. We're going to talk about typically what happens as students prepare to move. So we get a ton of questions about this. So I hope the people that are logging in will be able to get a better understanding of that. And of course, we'll get to hear kind of in depth from Fatima. I'll also allow those who've logged in to ask questions. If we will have kind of a separate Q&A section at the end. So if you do have some questions, if we don't address those, let's just save those for the Q&A section. Hopefully we address any questions you might have before now and then, but I'm sure that there might be something that we didn't address in this webinar. So there will be a time for that as well. Secondly, I do want to point out we are still taking applications even for our July start date, which is right around the corner. We will be finishing interviews probably by next week. So if that is something you're interested in, we are taking applications, or if you're interested in applying for January of 2026, those applications are open as well. And we'll go over that towards the end, really how you could get started. I see we have Karen from Las Vegas. So Karen, thank you for logging in with us. I see Shah, you're logging in from Calgary, Canada. So we have quite a few students from Canada. We actually have an entire team in our admissions department to assist Canadian students. And so we have a lot of exciting things going on with Canadian students. And then Tasneem from Florida, so not too far from Dominica and Fatima's home state as well. So thank you for sharing that information. So the American Canadian School of Medicine is a really special place. There are many options when looking at going to medical school, particularly in the Caribbean. We are unique in that we are the first private nonprofit medical school in the Caribbean. So we're actually founded by physicians. Our founder, Dr. Arvind Bhagarpur, actually went to medical school in the Caribbean. He's from Houston, Texas, which is where I'm based out of and where I'm from as well. He wanted to be a physician his whole life. When it came time to apply for medical school, he'd be the first to admit, hey, I really didn't get the MCAT score I was expecting. And he looked at his options to where he could go. He ended up at Ross University, which is actually now where our campus is. So Ross University was in Dominica for, I believe, over 30 years. Amanda might be able to correct me if I'm wrong on that. They then moved to Barbados and left behind this incredible campus. So our founder, having gone through the process, and many other physicians who are now practicing in the U.S., who have very fond memories of Dominica, our founder decided, hey, I'd really like to set up a medical school in the Caribbean, but I'm going to go back and really look at all the details of the curriculum and how it's set up to make sure that as students go through this process, and Fatima will be the first to confirm, it's not an easy process. It's a lot of work. But we do want to provide the best education possible and give our students, the best outcomes possible. And so we are really led by our mission as a nonprofit. We're not really led by, hey, how much money can we possibly make off of students, but how can we achieve our mission? And our mission is to address the shortages in healthcare that we have both in the US and Canada. So I see Aberdeen, it looks like you're logging in from Vancouver as well. So some more Canadians, that's great. And then the other part of our mission statement is we do want to address healthcare inequalities. Not just exists in the US and Canada, but really worldwide. So we have a number of initiatives there in Dominica. We want to be a good partner with the local community there in Dominica. We don't want to be an island without an island. So I mentioned, we do pay attention to really the quality of education, and I'll get, Fatima a little bit later to discuss, what the actual classroom experience is like. But everything is done on a case-based system, and it's done in a flipped classroom. There are no more than 10 students for every teaching faculty member, and all of our faculty members are licensed physicians. So typically, in a lot of schools in the Caribbean, you're basically going to get just a higher level graduate science course. And then as you transition into your clinicals, such as Fatima's doing, you then have to figure out like, hey, how does this apply to a clinical study? All of our faculty members are licensed physicians. So these are people who've had to make, obviously life and death choices for their patients. They've practiced the craft, and they're really there to kind of pass the torch on to the next generation of physicians. We are actually, some students want to know, are we accredited? We're actually accredited by two accrediting agencies. So we're accredited by ACCM and IAR. So this allows our students, such as Fatima, to go back and take USMLE as they go on their journey, and then eventually get licensed. So we'll just kind of move on. I do want to let you all know Dominica is an amazingly beautiful place. I'm going to be there shortly in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to the visit. It is a one-of-a-kind place, especially I know for our Canadians and people who are up north, especially as it gets cold, they get really excited about, being in such a beautiful place where you have this amazing opportunity in nature. So beyond just the grind that comes with medical school, you have this opportunity to take a break, go maybe to the beach. There's incredible hiking trails. There's incredible waterfalls. So it really does become a place that as you take those breaks, you can kind of help reset yourself and get ready for the intensity of medical school. It is an English-speaking island. It is a former British colony. So the predominant language is English. Some students do get confused and they'll think we're in the Dominican Republic. We're actually not, right? You see Amanda shaking her head. It's an entirely different country with an entirely different culture. And so it's a really interesting place. And I think, aside from, just being a medical student, the experience of the local Dominicans, learning about their culture, and they are very welcoming and friendly. They have this long tradition of welcoming medical students. I lived there for a year as we were getting the school going, so I have a lot of experience with it as well. So ideally, we're looking to provide a place that is going to allow you to go through medical school, but also be an outstanding place to study. We've had someone who I spoke to today who's now a physician. They went to Ross when it was in Dominica. Their kids are now getting ready to go to medical school. So that tradition is there, even though we are a newer school. I also wanted to share this year, BBC published an article with the 25 best places to visit in 2025. Dominica made it to the top of the list. So there's a reason I'm so excited. All of my neighbors are very jealous of the fact that I'll be down there in a few weeks. Everyone has their summer plans of where they're going to go on vacation, but none of them are as exciting as mine. And so they're definitely interested in Dominica. I think one of the reasons it's now become so popular is it is a one of a kind place. That the nature is very unique. I know, Amanda, you might want to speak on this. They are in the process of installing cable cars there by Boiling Lake. So they're continuing to, they also set up a sanctuary site for sperm whales. So this is all stuff that's very unique. It's one of a kind in the world. So and as you can see from the picture, it's in any pictures you see, it's stunningly beautiful. You're in a tropical environment with these, amazing mountains and all this greenery. So it is obviously a very beautiful place to be. So I always do want to remind students that although Dominica is this outstanding place to visit, your primary reason for being there is you're there to really learn. So, do keep in mind, and we'll get Fatima to go into this. You're Monday through Friday, you're basically going to be either in class studying, getting ready for the next day. You do have some time to eat, and then but there is an intensity to it. I think one of the previous webinars that we had one of our students discussing how, at undergrad, he could just wait until his exams would come up and maybe cram for the exam. And you really cannot do that in medical school. There's just a lot of information that's coming your way. So a typical day, you're going to be super busy. Now on the weekends, you do have some time to really, take a breather, do some exploring, maybe go out into nature, do some shopping, maybe go to the Capitol. And then the other point I do want to let you know, because of our student to faculty ratio, you're going to get a high level of support from your faculty members as well. They're going to really get to know you, and we'll have Fatima kind of elaborate on that further. And one of the great features, there's multiple housing options that we have. We've been able to come in and really kind of pre-screen some of the housing units for our students. If you're coming from, Houston, Texas, where I'm from, or especially, Florida, or there in Canada, the rent is significantly less than what you're going to be paying in the U.S. So you can get a fully furnished one-bedroom apartment for as little as $600 a month. All of our units have a minimum internet speed. Everything's done online nowadays, so you do have to have that, and we do make that a requirement, along with air conditioning, power generators. The idea is a student would be able to come into our program with basically whatever IT equipment they have and whatever clothing that they need. And they're ready to go to school for 2 years. It goes by faster than you can believe. And then the idea is, you're out of there in 2 years, and then you'll start your clinical rotations in the U.S. So there's a number of small grocery stores, restaurants. We also provide transportation to take the students on the weekends to the Capitol, which has some additional shopping options. And there are several gyms that are close by. So you really have everything that you need kind of there by the campus. No one really has a car with them. So it just kind of allows you to really lock in. And I'm going to go ahead and have Amanda talk to us about really student support services and her role on campus.
Hi, my name is Amanda Massicot. As Scott Mason said, I am the Student Advising Manager here at ACSOM and a native of this country, this beautiful island where I live and others wish to vacation. Um, as a member of the Student Support Services team, we support the students through their entire journey from the time that Mason recruits them, get them through that process. Then there's a smooth handoff where we take over to help to support the students. So we help with transitioning, ensuring that all the documents are submitted, providing information about airports, travel, financial aid, making sure they get connected with financial aid and that they have their loans processed and all of that. And also ensuring that there's a friendly face once they arrive in Dominica. We really do, as much as possible, support our students through this transition period. It's very important to us because we understand that you're coming from your home and coming to a new country in the Caribbean. Some of you having never left your homes before and coming to this unfamiliar place. So we want to make sure that you do meet a familiar face at the airport. We're here to welcome you and to take you to your apartment. We provide a variety of services apart from the onboarding. There's the SWAT program, which is the Student Wellness and Assistance Program that is listed as the first one here. This is done by Dr. Scott Rinker. And so we understand that sometimes students have issues with adjusting. They need some support, just sometimes to be able to speak to somebody in a confidential setting. And so we do provide those services to students. We also do housing, and that is one of our primary responsibilities to ensure that our students have a safe space to stay. And so, through Safe Haven Rental, they have gone ahead and pre screened all the apartments and ensured that they meet our very high standards. And so, we kind of oversee that process, ensuring that students have a safe place to stay. And we also help in terms of transportation at nights to those locations, ensuring that they meet the standards of the school. Um, as I said before, in terms of arriving in Dominica as part of the onboarding process, so once you get to Dominica, that's me. You will see me at the airport. I'll be there to meet you, take you to your apartment. I take you to the grocery store on that first day as well to make sure that you get the first set of supplies for your apartment to at least tide you over to the next day. And get you there to your apartment. Miss Keisha, who's the Safe Haven rental agent, she will go through the housing onboarding process with you. I'll stay with you until you are well settled, and then once you're comfortable, we leave. So we do not just leave you to do whatever on your own. We want to ensure that you're well settled before we say goodbye for the first day, and then we'll see you again. Um, Also, we support you through non-academic. I see it's academic, but through the non-academic sections of your journey. So we look at events, we plan events, we do transportation, um, we ensure that you find a proper balance between academics and non-academics. Okay, because all work and no play, we don't want any of that. So we really want to ensure that you have a well balanced life. And so we do plan a lot of events to ensure that you have good outlets to help you to kind of balance your life while at ACSOM. And that includes exploring the Nature Isle. As I said, I'm a native of the island, Dominica, and I'm really excited when I can introduce our students to Dominica and all that it has to offer. For example, this coming semester, our students will have an opportunity to go to one of our biggest festivals of the year, which is the World Creole Music Festival happening in October. They'll also have an opportunity to be immersed in our culture through the Creole Day lunch that we have on campus, where we celebrate our Creole culture. And so those are some of the things that student services really helps with ensuring, sorry, that our students are exposed to the culture of Dominica, which is very rich and we're very proud of. So we're here to support our students, and not just through non-academic stuff as well, but also emotionally through our student wellness assistance program.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, I know in my time in Dominica, the local people are very welcoming. It's one of the most peaceful islands in the Caribbean. If you look at, the crime rates from,
Hmm.
other Caribbean
That's what I've
islands, it
seen,
is
right?
a really good place to be. And I really enjoyed my time there. Again, as I mentioned, I'm like counting down the days until I go back to Dominica. And I'll be super excited to be there during our white coat and orientation that's coming up. So,
Great, great, great.
and I think your team has really done a great job of, setting up stuff for students to do that are really a healthy, distraction from the grind of medical school, right? Like I know we've set up med ball, which is really cool, basketball tournament that's been set up that features, our own students and then some of the local community.
Yeah.
So, I think, our founder, Dr. Arvind Bagapour, always, having a close relationship with the island. And it's so interesting. I had a conversation with someone today who went to, Ross when it was in Dominica, and just the fond, memory and connection that these people end up having, and again, only being there for 2 years, right, before they head off. But, it really is a special place. And,
Yeah.
as we can kind of see with Fatima, that time just really flies by. 2 years seems like a long time, but before you know it, it's
It's
over.
not.
But it just, the students really seem to be impacted positively. I've met numerous physicians, who have just said, really great things about being there on the island in their time. And by no stretch of the imagination is it easy. But I think it is a wonderful environment to be if you're going to go through such a grueling, academic
It's a great
process.
place to be. Yes.
And I think again, I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. And again, thank you for really everything that you do for our students. And I think one of the things that Student Support Services does is to try and find healthy outlets, right? Like, how do you manage stress if you're going through medical school? No matter what, there's going to be stress, and trying to find things that are very positive. And I think another important aspect that I really see amongst our students is there is just this really positive attitude of wanting to help each other. So
Yeah.
I think some of the the culture there in Dominica, I think starts to kind of rub off on our students. Hopefully, in the way that it's structured. I'm really proud of our students, and kind of their attitudes toward each other and how supportive they could be. So I don't know if you wanted to elaborate any more on
Yeah.
what you do.
Yes. Well, just in general, I think as a Dominican, I take some of our advantages, our highlights as um, I take it for granted. So, for example, when you talk about safety, to me, that is something I should always highlight, but I take it for granted because I'm a Dominican. But Dominica is such a safe place. It has a very low crime rate when you compare it to any other island in the Caribbean. Although we, as ACSOM, do try as much as possible to be vigilant and to take precautions, but Dominica is very safe. Our students do not feel threatened at all. We only have like very minor incidents of crime, and so our students feel safe just walking around, interacting with the community. And one of the things about ACSOM is this social mission. And so, as a member of the Student Support Services team, I try my best to provide opportunities to help the students to engage with that community, to go out into the community. And so that is why we have some of the events that Mason spoke about, which I should have, such as the medball tournaments for volleyball and for basketball, even if most times we get decimated. But that's okay. We do provide opportunities for the locals to come to the campus, to interact with our students, to interact with the wider ACSOM community. We have events such as Spirit Days, where we show our ACSOM spirit, and I'm very happy about this initiative, especially because it gets our students really connected to the school. We have movie nights. We have coming up this semester. Culture night where our students, because we are so diverse, we give our students an opportunity to display their culture. And last year we had 19 different cultures on display, and so I'm really interested in seeing what will happen this semester, well, the July semester, because we'll have an even bigger class. So this should be a very, very interesting program for our students to put out a display of their culture, to show us more, to teach us more about their culture, their language, especially the food. Um, because we all know food is always a big part of everybody's culture, food and music. So very much looking forward to that as well. And all the other opportunities for engaging in with the community to display what ACSOM's true spirit is about.
And I think one of the other events that y'all started that I'm really proud of, and I think it's awesome. I know we open up the campus for younger students to come in that are there in Dominica to basically get a tour of medical school, which is
Yes.
really cool, right? Because you've got these grade level
High
students
schoolers.
who are in school, and here's this medical school that's just down the street from them, and you have the opportunity to really see what our students are doing, see what it's like, and hopefully plant the seeds for the
Inspire.
next generation to see what's possible. So definitely I appreciate you and your team really making sure that we stay engaged with the local community there. And I think it does kind of spill over into our student population,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. And I think anyone going to medical school, and especially I've been to multiple islands in the Caribbean, and by far Dominica for sure is the most beautiful one. Very welcoming people. The food's outstanding as well. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to my upcoming trip. And although I did notice moving from Dominica back to the U.S., unfortunately, I did gain some weight. I think that has to do with all the fresh fish
The
and
fresh fish and the organic vegetables and fruits.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
it seems here in America, I'm, having to work out. I'm on a diet, and still I struggle. Where when I just lived there, I just kind of ate, what was available locally, and seemed to be a little bit healthier. And you might notice in some of the other pictures of me, I'm a little bit slimmer, a little bit tanner, but I do look forward to my time back in Dominica. I'm going to go ahead and, Amanda, if you could, for those of us, I don't know if we have anyone who's an upcoming student for the July class, but typically this is a big question, right? Like, what do I need to bring with me to Dominica? So what's the typical advice for someone that's looking to make that transition?
Okay, well, first off, let's start by saying that all the apartments are fully furnished apartments. So the idea is that you could come with your clothes and be comfortable and have what you need to survive, right? But I would say, first off, to walk if you're prone to suffering from motion sickness, from being car sick, please walk with something for that, because the ride from the airport to your home, we are blessed with many mountains, and the mountains create rivers, and that is one of our advantages. We are very blessed by that. But that means that the ride from the airport to Portsmouth or Picard, where the school is located, is a very windy one. And some people who are prone to suffering from car sickness, they do experience a lot of nausea. So first off, please just pack something in your bag for that, just in case if you are prone to suffering from that. So that's something to pack. Apart from that, you will find that there's a first pair of sheets in your apartment. There are utensils, cutleries, and all of that. If you do, I would say, if there are things that you're very particular about, so for example, you only can sleep on a particular thread count of sheets, or you have a particular pillow that you like, I would say pack that. Those types of things. Also, find out from Miss Keisha um, what specific appliances are in your kitchen. So, for example, if you cannot live without a toaster or a rice cooker, find out in that particular apartment that you've reserved if those things are available. And if they're not, then you may want to consider packing those. Miss Fatima also had created a list of packing items that you may want to consider as well. For example, it's a tropical island. It's nice and warm outside, but it rains a lot. And so an umbrella would be a good idea. Also, warm clothing like a hoodie for in the classrooms, because the buildings are freezing. They're very cold, very cold. Please, I am not exaggerating. Mason knows what I'm talking about. They're very cold, so you want to walk with at least two hoodies so that you're comfortable in class, but also walk with tropical climate type clothing, so shorts, flip flops, those types of things for when you're outside. Um, Also, Fatima can probably shed some light on academic stuff, like stuff to study, like your step one book, maybe having the ebook and those types of things. But I'll let Fatima do that in a minute. Other things to consider: we do have now a gala every semester. So you do want to make sure that you're working with formal clothing for that, as well as for the white coat ceremony. You want to have dress up clothes for that event as well. And I mentioned that we'll be having culture night, so making sure that you work with things to display your culture. And we celebrate Halloween. We'll have a Halloween contest, costume contest. So work with anything for that as well. So those types of things, plan ahead, and so start packing for those things. Also, if you're in the med program, you want to ensure that you do have your two pairs of scrubs, one black, one white, and your short white coat as well. Oh, and then medication. Definitely be sure to work with at least a semester supply of your medication. Although we have a very large pharmacy about 6 minutes away from campus, Jolly's Pharmacy, but sometimes we only carry generic brands. And if you're used to a particular brand of medication, I would say work with those. And then while you're in Dominica, see what's available. So the next time you travel, you can know whether or not you need to bring any more. But at least for the first semester, work with what you need. Let your doctor, your physician know that you're going to be out of state and get at least 3 months supply of your meds so that you're covered for your time in your first semester in Dominica, and then you will see what's available and know how to proceed with those. Again, as a tropical island, we do have bugs. So mosquito repellent, I would say work with those. The pharmacy sells them, but if you're used to a particular brand, work with that as well. Sunscreen, we don't want anybody having to come to class burnt up. It's hot out there, humid out there. Work with some sunscreen as well. All these things are available on island in the pharmacy and different stores. But again, if you're used to a particular brand, I would say walk with it to be safe, and then or pack it to be safe. And then once you're in Dominica, you can see if the pharmacies have it so that you know you don't have to bring any more when you travel. That would be what I would suggest for your first trip to Dominica. We've also considered the price of shipping versus paying for an extra bag. Um, my suggestion would be depends on what you're bringing. If you're bringing lighter items that would not run you really much in terms of being overweight, then I would say yes, do that. But if you're able to pack a really large box, let's say a U-Haul extra large or large box, and make one big box, then you can talk to me and I would give you very good advice in terms of how to ship those items to Dominica at a reasonable rate. So you do have options of getting things to Dominica even after you're in Dominica. We do have freight forwarders, third party companies who can help bring things into Dominica.
And
What's available? Yes, Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, you could also, order stuff from Amazon, right, and then have it
Mhm.
delivered to Dominica. Now, you're not going to get it, the next day like you will in the U.S., but it is, possible to get that stuff
Yes.
in. So,
But I would definitely not suggest directly shipping from Amazon to Dominica because that would be very expensive since they use UPS. I would suggest using a third party company such as eZone or one of the others that operate where they provide a Miami address, you ship it to that address and they take it down to Dominica for you, going through the process of clearance and all of that. Um, what's
yeah,
available on islands? Was that?
yeah, I think eZone was the most reliable.
Yeah, and it's close to campus. They deliver to campus, so it's a good option. On island, one of the things that you'll find in abundance would be fresh fruits and vegetables, very organic, and that's probably why Mason was very lean, and trim and healthy in Dominica because he ate better. Ha.
Well, I think
um,
it's part of the culture there. What I've seen with local
mhm.
Dominicans, they don't trust anything that's processed, right? And
You-
they tend to want everything to be, really fresh. And then also just the climate there, right? Like I remember, there'd just be days where, mangoes are literally just falling
it's
everywhere.
that time again. It's that time
It's
again.
I gotta hurry up and get there then. Uh,
It's that
it's
time
just
again.
you're in this abundance of this fresh, natural, organic fruits and vegetables,
Fresh
which we all
seafood.
know are much healthier for you. And Dominica is a blue zone. They have a high percentage of people who live to 100 plus.
That's true.
And I think that's with obviously why that is, I think has a lot to do with the culture there. People tend to be pretty laid back. You've got this high emphasis on things, being fresh. I really have fond memories of some of the staff that's there that's from Dominica, bringing me fresh fruits and vegetables that are from their gardens. And that just doesn't happen to me here in Houston, Texas. Like that's for sure. So it is a very unique place. And lots to learn while you're there. I am going to go ahead and we'll transition over to Fatima. We don't want to take up too much time because I know she's kind of on study break. So Fatima, thank you for joining us. You were one of our initial members of our charter class who came to Dominica as we were first, rolling out. And so I know um, it did take kind of a leap of faith, right? Of like, hey, there's this new school that's coming out, and you made a decision. This is where I want to be at, and kind of those 2 years fly by. So, what were your initial thoughts as to why you wanted to come to this medical school?
Um, Initial thoughts, that's a really good question. I was just surfing. I was kind of in a tough position at the time. I was surfing around and I ran into the school. It kept showing up, kept showing up. I did the application and I think it was the very next day where actually Mason, who was my advisor, reached out to me and we literally started this process so smoothly, efficiently that whatever like communication was necessary that an admissions process should consist of, like we did that without it feeling overwhelming. And I think that was one of the biggest like gifts, I guess, like to not feel overwhelmed by just applying. um and honestly, like between Mason, then there were certain other advisors as well that were very helpful, and the whole interview process, just setting it up. I think like it was just always a yes. Like truthfully, like within just the admissions committee, just making you feel so comfortable from the start. So yeah.
Well, and it's worked out for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, for your particular class, I'm always like, wow, they really took a leap, right? Because, we were just getting going. There's a lot of stuff that kind of had to be filled in. And, I think what's kind of unique about your class is they just kind of realize like, okay, this really seems like I could, go into this program and do well. And so, it did take that leap of faith, right? Without any other students coming before. So y'all are kind of the trailblazers. So y'all should definitely be really, really proud of that. One of the things that we really emphasize is the case-based learning and the flipped classroom model, and being in a small group setting. Why don't you just explain to the audience what does that mean, like case-based learning and flipped classroom, and how is it different than some other learning models that are out there?
Yeah, of course. I actually have had a fair share of experience between, the big classroom settings and then transitioning into the small classroom settings. Just undergrad itself, but then I've also, had the experience of another medical school. Just the big classrooms, there's different types of students, there's different ways of learning, but with new research also, this 1 to 10 like ratio, it's become more powerful of a technique. And this is what resident physicians are also following when you get placed. So it means a lot because it's, you not only get to know your professor on a more personal level, but you develop this connection and this relationship where they kind of understand what kind of learner each student is in the group. And then they're able to take that and prepare a learning environment within our classroom to kind of make everyone feel comfortable in participating, opening up. And, some of us are extroverted, some can be introverted, but it was just the way where we took, like, the first week of class to kind of get to know one another, build up, and then transition into a way of learning where everyone was just so comfortable at, like, answering questions, whether you're right or you're wrong, because sometimes it's scary. You don't want to answer wrong. You're scared, you're nervous, but it's the way that our professors are able to kind of set up our environment. So for me, it was honestly one of the best formats of learning. Having a lot of students in a classroom kind of just makes you feel like a number. Your professor might not know you. You don't really know them. They don't really know how you're progressing. At ACSOM, our progress has always been a weekly check. Like our professors they know how we're performing every single week based off of our Friday formatives. So it's really good to know that, someone has your back. Like as soon as they see you like fall, they come to you and they're like, "Hey, are you okay? Is there something that you need? Is there, like they check on you." And that means a lot because in a bigger classroom setting, no professor is going to check on you until you take the test, and So this is really good way of learning. So I highly suggest.
Yeah, and obviously, the way medical school has been done traditionally, usually you have, hundreds of students sitting in a lecture hall, and unfortunately, it does create this, sink or swim mentality, or even I've heard it compared to like the Hunger Games. What I'm really proud about, our students with is, because you're doing this group work in a small group setting, everyone kind of brings their own strengths, right? And so as y'all are working through these different cases, you really develop the skill set to kind of, have these conversations with your peers, right? Like, what's going on with this particular case? And, is there something that I'm missing? Or, I didn't think about it that way. And, I am really proud that we've created this environment where students do feel comfortable. And kind of as you mentioned, you're not just going to fall between the cracks. Our faculty members really, really get to know you, right? And so, with those kind of weekly assessments, which are not necessarily graded, but it's an idea to track you and provide a benchmark to see where our students are. The idea is you're not really going to start the same as where you end up, at year two, right? Like, there's this massive improvement. So our faculty members are really close as you go through that process. What was the level of communication like with the faculty members that you worked with? If you had any questions, how is it that you were able to communicate with them just outside of the classroom?
It was honestly, I'm not gonna say informal, but it was very like easy. Like, you can schedule an appointment with them. We have this easy process through our Canvas system where you schedule an appointment. But even let's say you don't have an appointment and you just want to knock on their door, you're never going to get shut down. It's never going to be they're not here. It's never going to be I'm too busy, come back. It's always going to be them pausing whatever it is they're doing, having you sit down, making you feel comfortable, and then talking to you. Like, I've had moments where I have gone to a professor and just sat there and cried, and then we've tried to get to a solution of what to do. So it's like very like family type vibes. You don't feel like you're just talking to a professor because, like Mason mentioned earlier, they're all licensed. This is a process that they have all gone through and been through, and they've been through it probably in a more intense manner than what we're going through, but at the end of the day they understand this entire process. So they know what it's taking from you, the sacrifice, the time, and it's just the amount of faith that they put in you that pushes you to kind of do better. And it's so easy to go and talk to them, and it's the way that they come up with solutions so rapidly. Like, they don't just keep you hanging. So it's very easy, like very like, and it's very like, I'm trying to find the best word to put it, but you're like, when you first meet our professors, you'll know like the connection is just there, and you'll know that they're there to help you and to make sure you pass and you get to, M3, M4, graduate. And it's beautiful. It's like very easy to talk to them.
That's great. So I definitely want to get into, let's say, Monday through Friday, right, as you were going through class, and the ups and downs, right? And I always tell students, like, you're going to have those weeks where, man, it hits you, and so thank you for opening up and being like, yeah, I was at this point where I kind of broke down and I cried, but at the end of the day, you've made it through that, right? And you're now in, you're where you need to be. But a typical day, Monday through Friday, what did it look like for you as you were going through your basic sciences?
Yes, of course. Monday through Fridays, I won't go into the greater details, but like just a generic overview, because days can change, is you come to class from 8 to 9. We have a morning lecture. The morning lectures if it pertains to what the material for your cohort, it is mandatory to attend, but they are very good lectures and they're delivered to you by physicians from the States. From like Yale, we've met professors from Yale, from Texas through this morning lecture. Then after that, we have a 10-minute break. So all the students are kind of bonding, having breakfast. And then we have small group from about 9:15 to 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock is lunch. So everyone has lunch all together, which is really, really nice because everyone's schedules are like alternating. So it's really nice to kind of just sit there and sometimes just get out of your small group and go interact with other peers that you don't really get to spend that time with. Then depending on the semester you're in, you're either going to have anatomy or IC or intro to clinical medicine from 1 to 4. And 1 to 4 sounds really long, but this is like just the schedule. Sometimes you can finish early. Most times you finish early. And then after that, you're free to go home, study. But now the school is growing and I'm so happy because we have all these clubs and all these interest groups that everyone is running. So one of the biggest beauty of our school right now is that everyone is so supportive that everyone participates in absolutely everything. Like everyone attends every club meeting, every interest group, like everything. I don't even play basketball and I will be there. Like it is crazy. Like we just go, we support, we have fun. So it's like really, really nice like evening time. But when I say like once you're out of class and you sit down, you take like a 15-minute break. And then after that, you just have to sit down and lock in and study. That's what you have to do because by 11 o'clock, it should be lights out because we have very long days filled with a lot of intensity, like Mason has mentioned, and you must sleep. Please don't stay up until 4 or 5 o'clock.
Pre-work.
Yeah, just do your pre-work and study and get sleep because it's gonna catch up onto you during exam week and it doesn't help like at all. Like trust me, been there, done that, don't do it. It's not worth it. Just pace yourself, create a schedule, follow it. But yeah, and Fridays are super cool also because Fridays we all have a formative assessment. So Fridays, nobody has anatomy or intro to clinical medicine. On Fridays after lunch, we have a formative assessment, which is of course changed up based off of the semester you're in. But everyone takes it in the testing center together. So it's a good testing vibe. And after that, we all go play volleyball together. So it's a really good Friday. Like everybody just looks forward to volleyball. So we take a test and we go play volleyball, and that's Friday. And yeah, that's Monday through Friday.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. And yeah, I do. I'm really, am amazed of the culture that has developed there, right? Like, I don't know, if it just kind of stems from, how the classes are structured. But, medical students tend to be, very crude towards each other and cutthroat. And, I know in working with some of our leadership, it's like, hey, would you really want, a physician who's going to be taking care of your family to have that attitude? Like, no. Physicians are dealing with people sometimes at, the worst moments of their life. And so I think it's really cool. There's been this culture that's developed that's like super supportive and, understands like, hey, I don't know everything. I'm going to, lean on my team members as I go through this and be supportive of others. And, even as you pointed out, like, you're maybe not, that into basketball personally, but like, okay, some of my team members are going to be in it. Go there and cheer them on, and just have a great time. And so, I think that definitely it creates, great memories and gives you, these positive outlets as you are going through, the intensity of the work that comes along with it.
Mason, sorry. Oh, I thought you were wrapping up. I was letting you know that I saw a question that two people were asking about exams. For Fatima, they wanted us to talk about exams and also what does exam week look like. Are all exams in the same 3 days, or are there more days, more spread out a little? Am I
Oh,
reading
those
this
are
right?
like everyone's favorite questions, exams.
Yeah,
Because
do you want to respond,
a
Fatima?
lot of the students coming in for July, they've been texting me and they've been asking me about exams, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so prepared. I don't even think I had even asked Mason that, like how exams starting to think, was that a bad thing? um so exam week is actually like a very peaceful week. It's a lot more independent. And a lot more of a final push from faculty. So I'm going to say a module is typically 7 weeks. I think our website actually has the academic calendar on there. You'll see that now every module is 7 weeks, which is perfect because it aligns. All exams are always on a Friday. That does not change. It is best for it to be on a Friday, because then you have the whole weekend to kind of relax, decompress, prepare for your next module. Exam week typically is, you'll see in your syllabus for that module, it's a little more emptier. It's a lot more self-study is what it's called. So it's more of, you basically have the entire days to yourself. So you're not obligated to come to campus. You study for your test the way you want to study for it. And it's really important because self-studies, they're expecting you to actually study. So make sure you take advantage, because we don't get a lot of those days, but those days are the best days. And also a week before every final exam is a mock exam for that module. So all exams are done through the NBME platform, which during orientation week, they'll educate you more on NBME. But if you know, NBME is directly USMLE step 1 questions, like from previous question banks. So it's a great way of testing us for every module. So you have a mock exam on NBME, and then your final is the week after on NBME once again. Every module is 80 questions except for neuro, which was 120. That's the longest one. Every other block has always been 80 questions. But that's finals week. It's very peaceful. And we don't really have TAs. We have tutors. The thing with TAs is that TAs have to be present during class time. But we're all in class in separate small groups from 9 to 12. Like from 9 to 12, every student is in class. Of course, the school is growing, so perhaps that's something that, the academic center would consider if they want to flip around schedules. But for now, it's mostly tutors. Like you can get a tutor through Canvas. You just schedule an appointment and you can have a tutor for the day, but no TAs.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Fatima. And let's see, did we have any other questions? I think we answered all of them. One person asked about if we use former Ross housing facilities. The housing is actually all off campus, so there's multiple apartments that are available that we've pre-screened. Fatima, what was your experience like with your housing there in Dominica?
I loved housing in Dominica. I honestly, I don't even know how to explain, but like housing is so easy. The whole process with housing was very easy. The housing is fully furnished, so you don't need to bring anything like for furnishing, which is the most great part of it all. But it's like very organized. Like your rent, is cheaper than the States. You have someone that comes and cleans your apartments on a weekly basis. The landlords are super available. They're either a phone call or a text away. But you also have Keisha, who's in charge of real estate, who's available. So housing itself is the easiest process. Like it's very comfortable, feels very homey. And honestly, there's students all around. Like majority of the students like are available in all the buildings, so you're not alone ever. Like it's nice. So it's I feel like housing is probably the least of your worries, if any.
Great. And then see, Tasneem asked a question about getting your application started. So in the best email to use, you could actually email me directly, and we'll actually have some more information about this in the next few slides. And let's see. Abdeen asks, is there an age limit for applying to ACSOM? We do not have an age limit. So, you're free to go ahead and apply. So please feel free to do so. Don't let that hold you back. We do have many students who have, some professional experience and have decided to go back and pursue their MD. So that's almost an entirely separate webinar. But yeah, thank you for asking that question. And we're at the top of the hour. So at this particular time, I'm going to let Fatima go. I really appreciate you sharing everything with us, Fatima. We probably could have gone on for hours, but I know you've got to get back to studying. So I'm not going to take up any more time of this. And we'll go ahead and go on to the next slide.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll see you.
All right. Thank you, Fatima.
Bye.
Okay. So we are still taking applications for the July start date. If you are considering that, we really need you to get your application in, I would say no later than Friday. We do have interviews available the following week. I don't know how quickly we got Fatima to Dominica, but we have had cases where, students have been accepted and showed up to Dominica the next week. So it's, definitely possible. There's actually more flight options. There's a direct flight that comes from New York to Dominica. You could also connect through Miami, or there's also, many other airlines that, might have you connect somewhere else in the Caribbean and then make it to Dominica. But still, highly possible to get there. There is no application fee to apply. So what I say to students is I work with them, and I've continued to work with so many bright people like Fatima, is you do have to have the courage to go through the application process. So it can be extremely grueling. Sometimes it takes people multiple admission cycles to get accepted. I encourage you to have the courage to go through it. We've decided not to charge a fee. So even had several students say, well, maybe I want to retake my MCAT, next year, and maybe look at the following cycle. If you are passionate about becoming a physician, I would recommend go ahead and applying. The worst that could happen is we could say, hey, we want you to go back and do some more work. But it is a holistic review that we offer. So we're going to look at, obviously, people's academic record, but we're going to take a look at any clinical experience they have, research experience, leadership experience. That's all factored in. So there might be some characteristics that you have. Is kind of Fatima's pointed out, there is, a lot of support that's in our system. This entire curriculum and how it's set up has been really built by people who've gone through the process before. So we want to give every opportunity possible for people to come in and do well. And you can see our students have kind of built up this culture that is super supportive. We've tried to make as much scholarship money available as possible. So any student that goes through the application process and interviews, our admissions committee will automatically review their application to see if they qualify for a scholarship. Scholarships are based on merit, leadership, and community service. If you already have an AMCAS, a COMAS, OMSAS or TMDSAS application, you could just simply upload that. That is usually going to have everything that we need on there to at least set up the interview. We do require an interview, so that is part of the process. If you are considering, we will, as I mentioned, we're going to be wrapping up interviews for our July class next week. So we're still taking students for July 2025, but also for January 2026. And I did see someone had a question about the financial aid process. So we do have loans that are available. We do not have federal loans, but we do have loans where our students would get the same interest rate that they would pay with a Graduate Plus loan. There are, unfortunately, maybe some changes coming with the new tax bill where Graduate Plus loans might be limited. We are protected from that. But basically, our students, whatever their scholarship is not going to cover, they can usually qualify for a loan with us, or with our loan partner, I should say. And this is going to cover all of your living expenses. Fortunately, the cost of rent in Dominica is very affordable, much less than what I'm paying here in Houston, Texas for rent, that's for sure. So it does help to keep the overall costs down. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next slide. So the application process is done online. I'll go ahead and put in the chat the link to start your application. But it is, kind of as Fatima has pointed out, we do try and make it as easy as possible. So usually it just takes our students a few minutes to apply, and even quicker if you have a COMAS or AMCAS application already. But I'll go ahead and drop in the chat the link to start your application. Just a second here. Oh, there it is right there. Thanks, Amanda. Having a few technical difficulties. So basically you'll apply online. Almost everyone that applies will get offered an interview. It is a holistic review. There are some cases where we see people who maybe we might see that they could have some risks if they're coming in as a first semester student. And so we could always make a recommendation that they look at our preparatory program, which is an entirely separate webinar. We do try to provide a pretty quick turnaround time. So after your interview, about 95% of our applications get an admissions decision within less than a week. So, we've really pushed our team to, make that process as quick as possible. We don't want to waste anybody's time. So you would get a pretty quick decision. Once you've been accepted, you would then need to secure your seat deposit, work with financial aid to get your loans secured. They are pretty quick. And then you also work with our student sports services team, as Amanda has mentioned. Once you are ready to go to Dominica, they provide a pre-departure orientation that covers some of the stuff that we covered, and to let you know kind of A through Z what you need to do to get started for our medical school. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So if you are ready to go ahead and get your application going, the link's in the chat. There's also a QR code here if you want to set up a one-on-one with me and talk to an admissions advisor. Please feel free to do so. And we'll also address some more questions that are coming in. So I do see someone wanting to know what the local currency is. Amanda, thank you for answering that. They use the Eastern Caribbean dollar. The good thing is it's pegged to the US dollar. So $1 equals about 2.7 ECD. So it's, eventually you get the hang of it. And you don't have to worry. I've lived in multiple other countries where the exchange rate can fluctuate. The good thing is it's fixed. So you kind of know exactly what you're getting. I know we have some Canadians on board. So it is pegged to the US dollar. Obviously, if you have a Canadian dollar, that can fluctuate. So for those of you that are ready to start the next step, we do have a QR code for you to go ahead and scan your application. You can go ahead and get it started, whether you're looking to start in July or January. If you are looking to start for July, definitely get it done quickly, because we're kind of expediting those applications for the time being. If you're looking to come for January, it might be a little while until we get the interview set up for you, because we do want to expedite those that are coming in for July. And then in August, we'll start taking applications for the fall 2026 admission cycle. So you see on here my direct line and email. Please feel free to reach out to me or Mika. I do know we have some Canadians on. So we have our own Canadian advisor, Christine DeRosa. Her contact information is here, so please feel free to reach out to her. And thank you very much for joining.
Mason, there was one question about transfer students. I think I saw it like twice or three times. I don't know if you want to address it now or ask the person to reach out to you.
Yeah, sure. So we do accept transfer students. I would highly recommend to reach out to me directly, because each person who's a transfer kind of has their own unique set of circumstances and kind of what that looks like, whether they've already taken USMLE Step 1 or kind of where they are in the process. That's definitely something to address on a one-on-one basis, because it does get really unique. So I did see a question. They wanted to know if we're going to do a webinar for transfer students. I don't have anything planned for that yet. They've just kind of, what I would really recommend is reach out to myself or one of the other advisors, and we can set up a meeting, take an assessment of where you are, and go into the details of what that looks like. But transfer students are able to apply. All right. So I hope we addressed as much as we possibly could. We've gone over a little bit more than I thought we would. So I apologize, Amanda, for dragging you on. It was a great conversation. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Fatima. And thank you, everybody, for logging in. I hope you're able to get the information that you were looking for out of this, and look forward to hearing from all of y'all. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, guys. Hope to see you in Dominica one day.